Yeah, we like that, Corey. Yeah, it's fun.
Good morning, commissioners, and good morning, everyone, and welcome to the May 12th, 2022 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop meeting. If you would please stand and join me. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I call this meeting to order at 9 a.m. and this time I open up the floor to public comment. We do have somebody on Zoom. Her name is Jen. Okay, hello, Jen. If you have public comment, if you would please state your name, your municipality, please. I did promote her. She hasn't accepted yet. So we have an individual who's joined us on Zoom by the name of Jen. Jen, we've given you the permissions to speak. Would you please let us know if you have public comment or not? Okay. All right, well, thank you. Hearing none and seeing.
Stacy?
Yes.
Commissioner Eichelberger would like to speak.
Okay, yes, sir.
Okay, just for a point of clarification in regards to our meeting yesterday, for anyone who tunes in regularly or attends regularly, there was a statement made in regards to the voting right of a remote attending member and stated that I did not have voting rights. I think your follow-up on that has since contradicted that, and I'd like to hear it directly from the solicitor.
No, that's not what I said, and I'm fine with the solicitor jumping in, but Commissioner Eichelberger, I think we actually were talking about two different things. And if I remember correctly, Solicitor Brenneman, when COVID happened, there was the ability for voting to happen over Zoom because we were granted that right by the legislature. And so then they took that right away, if I'm remembering correctly. That's what I was referring to. I thought yesterday, Keith, that we did not have a quorum to vote on the minutes because I was not going to vote on that.
Correct.
And if you could please explain the rules of a quorum, because that's what I was talking about.
My understanding is that the quorum has to be physically present.
Okay.
And with the absence of one of the commissioners, that quorum is not there.
Okay.
Okay, well, we're talking about something that's somewhat related to yesterday. I'm talking in the general sense that the statement was made that a remote participant cannot vote. That was clarified.
That's not what I said. It's not what I said.
Well, you know, it's on video. So, but the point was.
It's not what I said. I'm sorry that you misunderstood. I'm happy to clarify it. I think it's important as we move forward as a board. And so please, Keith.
Let me clarify that, because I just read the memorandum that I prepared several months ago. There is no physical presence requirement to satisfy a quorum for the Board of Commissioners. So I was completely wrong with what I just said.
Okay.
You can't participate.
My point in raising this is I would simply want clarity added as a follow-up to yesterday on what the rights are. And I want to make sure that we're not getting conflicting information as we have several times now. So I just wanted as part of the record here today as to what the policy now states. And it sounds like you just read the memorandum.
It's not a policy. It is the law.
It is the law.
It is very different among almost every board. So in this case, you can do it remotely. There is a case in the Commonwealth Court years ago that allows participation remotely. The problem is that in a lot of codes, municipal codes, there's a requirement that there be a physical presence during the meeting, which requires a quorum. And in the absence of a quorum, no action can properly be taken.
Okay.
So let me ask the question, Keith. So let's say that Commissioner Eichelberger is zooming in this morning, and let's say I zoomed in this morning.
Correct.
Okay. could we continue with voting and it would?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, that's good to know.
Very good. That's all I was seeking, is to get clarity so that we know going forward, so this doesn't pop up again and create additional confusion. So we're on the record here with it. And Keith, you have that memo, right?
I do. Thank you,
Okay.
Stacy.
Could you recirculate that to everyone?
I will do that.
Appreciate it. Thank
So,
you.
but to be clear, that would mean that like all three of us would not have to be here.
Correct.
Okay,
Thanks for clarification.
thank you.
Thank you for Stacy for clarifying my previous statement.
You know, I think that we have had so many changes over the last 2 years with our emergency declaration, the emergency declaration from the state, the rescinding of that emergency declaration. It is hard. And then we, like you said, every board has a different requirement. And there's lots of other laws and statutes that overlay. So it is very confusing.
Correct. I'm still not sure if I can get cocktails to go, so.
I know, it's kind of weird, isn't it? But I mean, to be perfectly honest, I really thought that when the state rescinded all of that, we had to have a quorum, we had to have the quorum in the room for the meeting. But it's good. I mean, it certainly relaxes everything.
That's,
Yeah, thanks.
but not for everybody.
No, thank you.
Was there anything else, Commissioner?
No, that's fine. That's all I want to thank you.
Okay. I'm going to circle back around. Has the individual accepted? Okay, I'm going to take that as no public comments at this time. So hearing none and seeing no additional comments, we'll move on then to agenda item number 3, which is discussion of resolution 2022-8 regarding designated depositories for county funds. And I'll call on Kelly Nieder.
Thank you, Stacy. Commissioners, you have an updated resolution to the resolution that had been executed on October 5th of 2020. The only update to that resolution, which had been drafted by Keith, is the inclusion of Members First onto the list of potential depositories for us to utilize. I am trying to be forward-looking in the fact that we are anticipating additional funding. Banks are declining to accept deposits from the county because of our collateralization requirement and their lack of need for them. And so we have received interest from Members First about becoming a depository of the county. It is permitted under the updated county code. And so I have this updated resolution for your review. And if there are other institutions that you want to have added, or if there's anyone on this current resolution that you would like to have deleted, those changes can certainly be made. However, just be aware, we are having difficulty in placing all of the reserve money that we have in multiple institutions so that we are not in violation of the existing investment policy of being overly concentrated.
Okay, I have several questions. Okay, number one, if we're so desperate to find more facilities that are willing to accept deposits, why is it we're only adding Members First? Why are we not soliciting other federal credit unions, of which there are a multitude in our area?
Gary, at this time, Members First is the only federal credit union that I know that is actually capable of collateralizing and interested in deposits. That being said, if there are others you want me to reach out to, I'm happy to do so.
I think it would be wise to reach out to virtually any that have local presence at the very least, and to find out if they have that collateralization ability. Cherry picking one out just does not look good. And if we're
Well, for example, the PSECU and those type of credit unions are much more restrictive to who can be members. They don't bank commercial businesses. So to go to it would have to be a fairly large credit union that has an interest in doing commercial business and would have the capacity to do it. So
category
if you
system.
would like to, if you would like to suggest one, I will follow up.
Is there a category system that differentiates credit unions? Or is it just?
No,
the
other than their charter, other than how they've implemented on their charter.
So if I bring you, let's say, I don't know, what's the other one? New Cumberland Federal Credit Union. Let's say,
Correct.
what is it you're going to look at in terms of them to see if they're eligible?
I would have to reach out to them and say, do you have the capacity to do this?
To do what
To
specifically?
collateralize, to accept deposits from the county and collateralize them appropriately.
Okay, so the collateralization is the key factor.
Yes. But it
Okay.
also ties with how they do business. They may, it typically is a credit union that is larger, that is engaged in business, has the capacity to do more than a credit union that is specifically focused on individual members and the needs and satisfying those needs that they may have.
Okay, it doesn't sound like a huge bar to cross. So I would say if our proactive interest is truly in expanding our pool of depository institutions, that maybe we should proactively look at some of the other ones that are around and bring them all in at the same time.
Okay, we can do that. The other thing that is restrictive in some respect is that this list is comprised of institutions that have facilities in Cumberland County that support paying taxes in Cumberland County, and they were my priority. I guess we can expand that to include the likes of JP Morgan Chase and many other institutions, if that's your desire.
That sounds completely opposite of what I just said. So, but I prefer to have a local focus. I don't know that just the county boundary is the only focus. To me, a regional presence is just as good. Capital doesn't stop at the river's edge.
I'll call a few more credit unions.
That'd be good. Okay, my next question is in regards to item 4, which, Keith, I would need your review on this. It gives the treasurer the authority to change the type of depository accounts. I'm not sure I understand exactly what that means, type of depository accounts, and identify for
Karen,
purposes. Okay,
if I
please.
can answer that, it just means that sometimes we do a certificate of deposit, and sometimes we do a money market, and sometimes we do a savings account.
Right.
But Keith, if there's more to that is not mine, that I don't understand, please.
There's not more to that. That's how it was previously. That's how it is now.
But the choice of whether we buy whether we're keeping money in a money market or buying a CD or if repos ever come back or whatever, that the allocation decision rests with finance. This implies otherwise.
No, that's correct. It is a joint effort between finance and the treasurer's office. They research with some assistance sometimes from my office opportunities in the market. They make the final selection. We coordinate the execution of the documents, which are signed by the commissioners, the controller, and the treasurer, and then the account is simply opened. What this resolution does is allow us to be more nimble in that process as we go between CDs or checking accounts, or just simply opening new accounts when the need arises.
So if I may, Dana wasn't able to be here this morning, at least I don't believe she's on Zoom. So in the past, prior to this resolution being passed in 2020, it's my understanding that if finance designated an investment opportunity, they would have had to have waited until the next public meeting to come forward to request the opening of basically what number 4 of this resolution allows to do. Okay,
I am here. This is
okay,
Dana.
hi Dana.
Yeah,
Please weigh in, Dana.
yeah, what Stacy said is absolutely accurate.
Repeat it then. Tell us in your words exactly what that means.
Okay, so we work with the treasurer's office to determine what type of investment that we want to do. And in this market, it's changing pretty quickly. So we change between CDs, money markets, statement savings. We discuss it. Kelly opens the accounts and then finance does the paperwork and we determine how much, how long, and type of investment and where. It gives us the ability to react in a shorter time frame than having to wait until we come to another public meeting. Otherwise, money can sit idle for a few weeks.
Right. Okay.
Did that answer your question?
It answers mine. Okay. So Keith has no problem with item 4. That was the question I had, since we had questions here regarding authority over accounts previously. The only other thing I'd ask is, Keith, you're familiar with there's a memo done by previous solicitor Ed Shorp in regards to the bank accounts commissioner's authority versus treasurer. And I would trust you've put your hands on that fairly recently and know where it is.
Since the change in the county code in 2018, revisited it, yes.
Okay. Could you recirculate that to the commissioners, please?
I will do that. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Are there any other questions?
Just a comment, this, Keith, we can pass this resolution. We can always pass another one if more lending institutions are added. So the only change in this document is adding members first, which I think we should move on Monday. Kelly, you find others that are suitable, bring them to us and we'll look at it.
I'll be happy to do that.
This.
Can we count on that promptly?
Gary, could you please define promptly?
Well, I don't want it just being put on a shelf, so I don't know what.
Excuse me.
I'm
proactively bringing this in here to try and plan for future deposits. It is not, this is in advance of being prompt. If you would prefer me to be reactionary and wait until we have money that we have nowhere to put, I can follow that path if that's your preference.
Did I
But
say that?
prompt
No.
to me, no, but I'm being
Then you
clear
tell me what
because
prompt is.
because prompt is a pretty open term I have found in government.
Well,
So-
I specifically used a term that would allow you to define it within reason. So I don't want to be demanding and say it has to be within a week or 2 weeks. I don't know what's reasonable. I'm trying to provide a
I'm sorry, I'm
reasonable.
gonna jump in on this. I don't understand the antagonism, Commissioner Eichelberger. And when I looked at this, I went back and looked on 2 of 2022. We sat down with Treasurer Nieder at a finance meeting and talked about the investment policy. And then this resolution appears to be quite similar to resolutions that you have passed over your 18-year tenure.
Mhm.
All it's doing is adding members first. And what I think it's doing, Mrs. Niederer, is tying up the investment policy, right? Which actually the investment policy would determine where we can put our money. And just kind of tying the two together. I mean, I don't see this being a super change. I'm kind of concerned that there's an allusion to calling you and to saying to you, and I'm not even going to say that he's alluding to it, but Commissioner Eichelberger is alluding to it. He's really saying that you're overstepping your bounds. And I don't think there's anything new in here.
And Commissioner Foster, I appreciate that comment. If members first is offensive to someone on the board, if it's
There you go
inappropriate,
again.
I have no
Both are
vested
experts.
interest.
You're experts at putting words in other people's mouths. I have not offended. Members First has been my credit union for 28 years, okay? They're a fine institution. I'm simply saying that in our role of fiduciary responsibility as commissioners, the keepers of the public treasury, we have to be very stringent in how we apply these types of activities. And there is the law.
An investment policy?
Can I please finish my statement?
Of course.
Okay. So it behooves us, if you consider it antagonistic, that I'm asking
Yes.
legitimate questions in regards to our responsibilities, then that is your problem, not mine, but I am going to ask the questions. Why are we going through, okay, what is put before us now is totally different than what we were briefed on before. It has gone through quite an evolution from what I understand, and that's fine. As if it's vetted properly, it should. But I didn't know this was coming, and it's a little surprising. What is surprising to me is that it's a legitimate question. If we are so interested in adding more depository institutions, why are we adding one? And why just the one? And even if there's nothing wrong with that, we should be conscious of the impression that we are giving if we're only opening the door to one federal credit union when there are multiple ones around. If we really need places to put monies, then let's open it up. Let's find the ones that work for us and let's bring them in. So when I ask promptly, I'm trying to be appreciative of the treasurer's schedule. And I'm not even asking for specifics. I just don't want it being forgotten because
Gary, I will not forget. And I will respond to you. It is the 12th. I will respond to you with an update as to my ability to find other interested institutions within a week.
okay, if that's reasonable, that's fine. A week, 2 weeks, I appreciate that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So we can move forward with this on Monday.
Yes,
Okay.
please. I mean,
If in the meantime, I have anyone respond favorably that they would very much like to, I'll add them Monday. Is that appropriate to modify or no? At that
That'd
time?
be fine.
Okay.
Ellie, thank you for being proactive
Yes,
in your
Ellie.
explanations.
Thank you.
How many years do you have as a banking experience? 30?
Just,
Just 30.
thank you.
We have to have trust. Like what you're bringing in front of us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Well, our job is due diligence, not trust.
It is, Commissioner Eichelberger, our job is absolutely due diligence, and I don't ever have a problem with you asking a question, but the way you do it sometimes just really is unproductive.
I'm sorry you feel that.
What just happened here was the hideous treatment of a fellow elected official and a
Oh,
woman
yeah. Here,
with a lot of experience.
oh, yes, here we go.
The way you phrase
Yeah.
things sometimes is terrible. You would get more love with honey than what you get now.
Yeah, that's not my job. My job's to get answers. And nobody else appears to care about the answers. So,
Oh, my goodness.
Let's move.
yeah.
Okay, thank you. Moving on then to agenda item number 4, I'll call on Tammy Hershey to cover contracts and grants.
Thank you, Stacy. Agenda item number 4, numeral 1 is existing contracts, contract extensions or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county. Commissioners, do you have any questions, concerns, or comments regarding the agreements for children and youth or planning?
No.
Hearing none, we will move on to agenda item number 4, numeral 2, which consists of new contracts, vendors, services, grants, and contracts with increases or decreases to the county. I will begin by calling on Jamie Ryber to discuss the contract for children and youth. Jamie?
Thank you. Good morning. I just have one today. It's the Children's Home of Pittsburgh. It's a new foster care provider. Their rates are actually relatively low. They're below the state maximum allowable, and they also are willing to accept children that have some more significant needs than some of our other foster care providers can handle.
Amy, did you say this is a new provider?
It is a new provider.
Okay, thank you. I missed that piece. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions, Commissioner? Thank you, Jamie.
Thank you.
Next, I will call on Holly Sherman to discuss the contract for human resources. Holly?
Good morning, Commissioners. The contract I have is an update to the contract with Interstate Tax Services. This is the organization that we use for our unemployment compensation processing. They have not increased their rates since 2017, and it is coming out to a $30 per month increase. However, the actual billing is based on the number of employees. Due to Claremont being separated, it'll actually end up being a decrease in the overall contract once those employees are off the contract for us.
Any questions for Holly?
Yeah.
None. Thank you, Holly. Next, I will call on Sue Carbo to discuss the contracts for MHIDD. Sue?
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. The first two contracts we have are mental health contracts. Living Unlimited is an amendment for fiscal year 21-22. It's an increase of $2,000 for additional services. Their second contract is York County Transportation Authority doing business as Rapid Transit. It is an amendment for fiscal year 21-22, an increase of $25,395 for additional services. For IDD, we have Alma Health doing business as Med Staffers. It is an amendment for fiscal year 21-22, an increase of $5,604 due to increased services. We have the ARC of Cumberland and Perry counties. It's an amendment for fiscal year 21-22, an increase of $26,047 due to increased services. And for early intervention, we have Early Bird Therapy amendment for fiscal year 21-22, an increase of $19,196 for increased services. And lastly, we have Jenna van der Velden. It's an amendment for fiscal year 21-22, an increase of $6,498 due to increased services. Any questions?
Sue.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome.
Next, I will call on Stephanie Williams to discuss the contracts for planning. Stephanie?
Good morning. The first contract there is with Hampton Township. It's our typical land partnerships grant agreement for $23,000 for some improvements at Hampton Park. This grant was previously approved back in fall, and this is just formalizing it with the contract agreement. The other agreement is with Lancaster Farmland Trust. We had previously received a grant from the National Fish and Wildlife Foundation to provide conservation assistance to our preserved farm owners. So we're executing agreement with Lancaster Farmland Trust to do outreach on conservation planning and encouragement of implementation of BMPs. And then there's also some funding set aside for actually writing conservation plans and doing design work for implementation of best management practices.
Stephanie, this whole amount is a grant.
Yes, all of the $160,000 is a grant from National Fish and Wildlife Foundation. There's no county general fund, and actually the match to the grant is our CAP grant with DEP.
Funding type, it says county. Maybe that's what's throwing me off. So there are no county funds involved with this.
That's correct. There are no county funds.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Next, I will call on Dennis Lebo to discuss the contract for the Profonitary and Clerk of Courts.
Yes, this is another 2-year term of our software support and maintenance agreement with Paperless Solutions for Profonitary's case management system and for the Profonitary and Clerk of Courts digital imaging system. The total cost is for the 2 years is $99,962. This is going to be funded by both departments' automation funds, which does not include any general fund. It comes from a $5 fee that is assessed on each docket open in both of our departments.
Okay.
Sounds fine.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Next, I will call on Claudia Gardner to discuss the contracts for public safety. Claudia?
Good morning, everybody. Public Safety is requesting your approval to accept the grant agreement for the Radiological Emergency Response Fund, known as the RERF grant for state fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $23,204. That has a performance period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30, 2023. This grant provides funding to develop and maintain the comprehensive emergency response plans and capabilities that are for the predefined areas surrounding 3 Mile Island. As you know, part of our county resides in that area. The 3-year average grant award amount is $21,000. So this is about a $2,000 increase, but it is likely the last year of our eligibility due to the phased shutdown of the plant and the diminished threats to any offsite locations. This is executed through the e-grant system. Therefore, upon your approval on Monday, we'll just need you to go in and e-sign prior to the June 10 deadline. The second one on our list is we're requesting your approval to apply for the Emergency Management Performance Grant for fiscal year 2022. That is performance period of October 1, 21 through September 30, 22. This is a reimbursable grant, and the actual amount of the grant award will be determined once all of the counties have submitted their applications and the period closes. Then PEMA calculates the available funds and distributes that to the counties. You'll have the final amount in our grant award, grant agreement when we get that. Last year, we were approved for up to $103,000, and the 3-year average of that grant is about $106,000. So we're expecting something in that range. The fund does cover up to 50% of the salary and benefits for 2 of our staff members. The grant application is also submitted through the e-grant system and is due by June 10th. Any questions?
Thanks, Claudia.
Thank you,
you.
Claudia. That concludes the contracts and grants. I will now turn the meeting back over to Ceci.
Thank you, Tammy. Agenda item number 5 is a discussion of an appointment recommendation to the Cumberland County Commission for Women. I'll call on Commissioner Fauci to discuss.
So this morning, we have a recommendation for an appointment of Stephanie Okniewski for a partial term effective May 16th, 2022 and expiring December 31, 2022.
That's it. Okay, thank you. Moving on then to agenda item number 6. This is actually a recommendation for our Leadership Cumberland county-sponsored position. And I am putting forth Jennifer Getz as the county nominee. You all have received her application packet, which included a cover letter, her resume, as well as her endorsement from her department head. Do you have any questions about her ability? I think she'll do a fine job, and I think that she'll come away with a lot of wonderful experience to bring back to our Leadership Essentials program, actually. Okay, thank you. Moving on then to agenda item number 7, which I'm also covering, is actually it's discussion of and requesting passing on Monday of resolution 2022-09, which is to support the Pennsylvania Commission for the United States semi-quincentennial, which coincidentally could also be termed sesquicentennial. And I'm really wondering who decided that semi-quincentennial was a better term to use. I'm just saying, throwing that out into the universe. So this resolution would provide support to America 250. It would establish a partnership with them, and it would then move us one step closer to laying the groundwork to develop a county commission to start planning for county level celebrations. And I would add that it would be my intention that that commission would also work on, I won't say a more important event, but an equally important event in 2025, which will be the county's 275th anniversary. And so I think that this resolution, again, just really sets the foundation for our planning as we close in on two very monumental celebrations in 2025 and 2026. Are there any questions about the resolution?
Stacy, this version doesn't include my request to spell out what EPIC is. You had done that.
Oh, yeah, I will make sure that, yes.
I mean, it's not a big deal. but-
No, I'll make sure that we definitely get that version to be the version that is signed. I agree, it blends right in the way that it
The way
was
you did
worded.
it really did.
Yes. And I will say that when you said to add what it was, I was like, oh, no, because I haven't really internalized them yet. So I was happy they were there, but that definitely shows they don't stand out the way it was originally worded. We'll get that fixed. Any other questions about agenda item number 7? Okay, that takes us then to agenda item number 8, and which is Commissioner's Liaison Reports, and I'll call on Commissioner Eichelberger to get us started.
Okay, just briefly, I think everybody saw the announcement in regards to Janet Anderson's appointment for Economic Development Director. Gary Chicatano told me that they are very close to extending an offer also for the Finance Administration, and that'll, I'm not sure what his time frame is on that, but he's very pleased with their prime candidate and expects to have that filled shortly. That, of course, will fill out our top leadership posts at CADIC, and we continue working on the workforce development area. We've got some very promising things developing there. I'll be really pleased to report on going forward. The only other thing I wanted to mention is the next household hazardous waste disposal event. That is scheduled for June 4. Sounds like a long time away, but it's right around the corner. I asked Judd this morning. He said they have 161 of the 400 spots are registered, so plenty of vacancies there. We are seeing a bit of a let up in the demand for that. Judd said he's talked to contractors that are seeing the same thing, might be related to the economy right now, but he anticipates we're going to fill a bunch of those up, but always good to promote it. So household hazardous waste, one of our better program offerings. So if anyone out there wants to help spread the word or register, just go to the website or call the recycling and waste office and get a time slot for you to drop off your stuff. That's everything I have.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Fauci.
Gary, I have a question about Janet. Is she relocating from Erie? Is she already here?
She's already here.
She's already here. So I should see her this afternoon at the founders event?
I don't know. I believe Gary may have invited her, but I haven't talked to Gary in a bit, so I don't know if she's planning to be there.
All right. So on May 9th, the Western COG met. Cook Township is concerned about their new radio tower. They're just kind of hoping it works. I see no reason for it to not work, but they were concerned about that. I think that's a legitimate thing to bring up. In Penn Township, there's a sinkhole, and there's currently a disagreement between Norfolk Southern and PennDOT as to who needs to fix that sinkhole. But it is certain has kept the bridge closed for a while. The cost of truck diesel is going through the roof. That is affecting the Western COG. They talked about how hard it is to find employees with the CDL. All of those municipalities are involved in mowing, road patching, and cutting down dead trees. Solicitor Mark McKnight, and Commissioner DiFilippo, you might have some insight into this. Penn Township has asked him to work on a viable ordinance regarding the chicken waste that comes to Pennsylvania from Virginia and is spread on the fields. And they want to create an ordinance that would protect their water supply and would maybe require farmers to survey their fields so that they know where sinkholes and things like that are, where that chicken waste really and truly would have the potential to get into the water supply. So he is looking for a contact at DEP to assist. So I thought maybe you would have one. On May 5th, Vince attended the LEPC in my place. And on May 3rd and on May 2nd, I attended both election schools, and they were fantastic. The Bureau of Elections, Bethany and Salzarullo and Jen Hipp do a wonderful job with that. And we are so fortunate to have so many dedicated election officials and volunteers. And that is all I have.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner DiFilippo.
Yes, the AG Advisory Board met last week. Excuse me, there are now nutrition vouchers available for our senior 60 plus. They're worth $24. And they are to be used at the farmers market here in the Center Square. Carlisle, and they're good from June 1 through November 30th. And applications, they can apply at the Department of Aging. The ombudsman visits have increased. All 6 senior centers are seeing increased membership and increased activities. Direct care worker update, we have 2 more added to the list, but we still have 45 people on the waiting list for personal care. Ag Preservation Board met yesterday. The committee completed the rankings for 2022. Will include approximately 1,000 acres to the program, assuming these applicants accept the offers. This Saturday, May 14th, at the Brickner Farm at 60 Horner Road, there will be the ribbon cutting for the Destiny Dairy Bar, which she was in here maybe a year ago indicating that this would be happening. So that will occur this Saturday, 11 o'clock. Also, the Ag Board, actually the Conservation District, came up with the Farmer of the Year for 2022. And that goes, award goes to the Stamey Farm in Monroe Township. This farm has been in existence since 1850. They are now in their 6th generation of the family operating. The farm agrees and practices all the best management practices. They do considerable amount of no-till farming. And congratulations to the Stamies. I was also invited and appeared at the Envirothon last week that the Conservation District does every year. It had not been done for a couple of years due to COVID. It was held at the Mechanicsburg Sportsmen's Association in Silver Spring Township. There were 82 participants, and it appears that, well, not appeared, Cumberland Valley won the overall event, and they will move on into the competition. And let's see, Blighted Property Board meets this afternoon. It's during the same time as the founders event, so I'm going to try to be juggling to get to both of them. And I believe that's it for me.
Thank you, Commissioner. I would like to report that an executive session was held on May 11, 2022 at 9:30 a.m. regarding personnel. And do we need to report the other?
Yesterday's personnel, yes.
But the one after it, was that an executive session?
I believe it was personnel.
Oh, both were?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you. Is there any other business to come before the board today?
I have business. And Keith, I really just want to follow up on what you said about, no, there's no longer a need for the quorum to be in the room.
For the commissioners, that's correct.
For the commissioners, because that is such a relief, because I cannot tell you the number of times where it would have been far more convenient for me to zoom into a meeting from my home, right? And then go to something else on the West Shore than to come here, because I was firmly believed that you had to have a quorum in the room to vote.
Now, I had Jen Hipp look at this in August of last year.
Okay.
And she looked at a number of the boards of the county in particular. And she determined for the commissioner's office, you do not need to have a physical quorum present.
Okay, well, that is, thanks. But if you would please put that in writing somewhere for me so that I may rely upon it.
Absolutely. I will get you a copy of the number.
Thank you. Thanks. I appreciate it. And I'm sure you already did. I mean, I'm sure I already have it, but thank you. I appreciate the clarification on that.
You're welcome.
But I will be relying on that. So, all righty, thanks.
And I would just point out that I will probably have staff create like a chart. So like as a companion to the full memo, right? A chart, like an easy chart, you can just see, are there any additional requirements?
Yeah,
Something
and
handy, fit in a pocket.
you know what else is interesting about that then, Keith? And you're saying that's just for the Board of Commissioners?
Right, I have not looked at the entire memo to even recall how it affects other boards, but I think most other boards as well.
Okay, because like public safety, it would be good to know if it's across the board for all of them. I think it's fantastic.
I'll need to look at the memo. I'll share it with commissioners, of course.
Okay,
And that will clarify these issues.
thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, well, if there is no additional business to come before the board today, we are adjourned. I would like to meet with the commissioners.
Okay. Thank you.
Good meeting.